some friends that killed some people. But my friends have always been killing people. I did not break the law.
He kept the body for 1 to 2 days, and he laid the body on the edge of his tub and, quote, slit open his belly, end quote. He took pictures of him. He defleshed him, acidified the flesh and skull, and kept the skull.
He had killed more than a dozen people and eaten some of them. His Milwaukee apartment that was literally a house of horror.
I deserve certainly the most extreme punishment society has, and I think society deserves to be protected from me and from others like me.
Homicide. Van Houten claims she originally...
Hey, everybody! Welcome to our anniversary show!
Hi, everybody.
Oh, I'm so happy and excited to be here. But, I'll get to my drink in a minute. I was going to share my drink right now, but we'll get to that in a second. Okay,
you didn't even finish your sentence. She's like, so 1 year, and she's grabbing for her drink.
It's drink time. It's drink. That's what we're about. It's drinks. Like, it's drink time.
You didn't even finish her sentence.
Because it's staring at me. Like, what am I supposed to do? All right, everybody, welcome. We're so happy to have you here. We are a year in on this show, and I just have to say it has been so much fun. So much fun. So we're going to do a little recap, everybody, on the year. I have some stuff, Kirsten didn't follow all the rules, but
Listen,
I don't have a picture for everything.
Rule breaker. What do you want from me? I'm sorry. She's mad because I didn't take like a friggin' selfie or two. Like that's what she's mad at. Because I'm not like the selfie queen. That's Miss Extra over here.
Well, I tell her to do these things, everybody, and she just doesn't listen. So anyways, let's start when we first started this. So we came together. We took these awesome photos to get this going. Our first show I don't have a picture of, but we did a mob theme, and that was super fun. And Kirsten's, let's do mob. I don't even think I have these in order. So I'm just going to show like some of our pictures of stuff we did. So like this one was super fun.
Oh, yes.
Do we remember who won that battle?
I believe technically, I think
it was Michael.
Oh, really?
No, I don't know. We'd have to go back and look, but
all right.
I think in our poll it was Michael. I think Jason got his ass kicked, but like probably my stories were better.
I think that live people collectively agreed that Jason would kill Michael Myers, but I still don't accept that.
I think because it was Halloween, everybody was like, no, but come on. Well, I don't know. If you think about the new Michael Myers, I think he's pretty badass and this new
That is so true.
And I think that's what we're going off on.
We need another show.
We need another show.
Yeah.
Okay, then we went with our Thanksgiving one. That was fun.
Yes.
And I didn't realize so many people die at Thanksgiving until that show. I was like, I was thinking like, oh my God, we're not going to really get anything. And it was like, I'm like, everybody gets murdered on Thanksgiving. Like, I am not hanging out with my family. Like, that was
it's like people decide to like butcher a turkey and just go, hey, you know what? While I'm at it, I mean, I might as well just take care of whatever else.
Uncle Charlie, like, fuck him. Oops.
Yeah.
Well, whatever. It's our show. We can cuss if we want. So then we went into our Christmas show, and this was a very hot topic, and the costumes were even funner. So, and I actually, after the show, went and drove my son and got pulled over. And the cop, because whatever, the cop thought this on my face with actual snake going on my face. And I said, I just filmed a Christmas podcast. He goes, oh my God, when I came up, I was like, man, she's a badass. She's got a snake tattooed on her face. So that was fun. And Yeah, that was a good
You should have totally said to the cop, yeah, well, we just solved the John Benet Ramsey case. So, what did you do tonight? Like,
Yeah,
you should've just been like,
bothering
no.
me and shit.
Yeah, exactly.
Get out there and do some real fucking shit. Okay, then we got, this was the Capricorn.
Capricorn.
Yes, Capricorn, our birthday show.
Birthday. Woohoo!
Fun. And then our fun, huge debate.
Oh my God.
This was a knockout, drag out, and I won that one.
Says you.
She says everybody.
Says you.
Says everybody. But yeah, so it's been a fun year, and now we have Gigi with us, and we're super happy, and you bring a lot to this podcast with advertising, making merchandise, everything that Gigi does. So I'm super excited to see like where the next year is going to go. So thank you to everybody who's tuned in and has had a good time. And once again, everybody that comes through on Chillin' and Killing Crimecast, make sure you accept StreamYard into your life, because otherwise you guys come through like this.
Yeah, accept
Facebook
it,
user. So if you didn't, go ahead and just put your name so I can actually see who you are, or I will see this at the end of the show, because I like to go through all the comments anyways. So hello to everybody. Just accept StreamYard, and that's how that kind of operates. So do you got anything to say, Kirsten, about the year?
Oh, not really. Just, we wanted to do this because obviously, I'm sure it's the same for people who are watching. We just love true crime. We're obsessed with all these topics. We study them. We are invested in them. I'm sure that most of us try to solve things half the time. That's just how we are. And we wanted to do this and have fun. And as Heather and I have said from day one, and now Gigi, you're a part of this too, we make no apologies. We are very straightforward. No chaser, shots, no chaser. We are very blunt about what we think about things. And, we certainly say this all the time. We don't victim shame, but we do try to look at all points of view. So our show can be a little controversial sometimes, but that's okay. And, we're in it to kind of just break it down. And that's how we are. So
we're blunt. And I have to say, though, since Chillin' and Killin' has started, I've been in Facebook jail more than ever. They just keep locking me up. And especially, it's always over our topic, our second topic tonight. I always get in trouble about them.
Yeah.
So
can we just talk about how many times she has been in Facebook jail since we started the show? Yeah.
I mean, I got a jail behind me because it's fitting, because that's where I live. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Like I'll say something now and they're like, restricted, banned, blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, I literally got this off of Facebook. Like, seriously right now? Like,
she cannot stop talking about the carnivore that we're going to talk about later in the show.
Hummer.
Yeah. So.
Because there's such good memes on it. I'm sorry, everybody. We do have, and I think anybody that's tuning in has that twisted mind like we do. And so it's funny to me. I know it's bad and everything, but some of the memes are funny. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Facebook does not feel that way, though, everybody. So note, Facebook does not find this stuff funny, and they will lock you up. So
warning for all. Yep.
I try to school everybody, but whatever. What can you do? So now let's go to our drinks. Gigi, what are you drinking tonight?
I am drinking Michigan Awesome Red Blend.
Is that a sweet?
Yes.
Ooh, I never had that.
Yes. My husband was like, it's terrible, but it's really not terrible. He doesn't drink wine anyway, so I don't even know what he's saying.
I know, like, don't even chime in. Sorry, husband, but
sorry, not sorry. It's good.
Yeah, sorry, not sorry. Sit down. Okay, go ahead, Kirsten. What are you drinking?
I am drinking the darkest drink that I could find tonight, which it really is just cranberry and vodka. But this is representative of all the drinks that our second topic tonight. How should I say this? I'll just say drugged. That's all.
I mean, that's what happened.
Hide the powder that he was putting in everybody's drinks.
I mean, didn't really hide it. I mean, it was kind of fuzzy. Like,
sometimes passed it off as dish soap, which we'll discuss later. But, Dawn does a lot of good, but mine's just cranberry and vodka. Dark drink.
I am drinking blood.
I'm so glad you said that. I was going to say blood for mine, and I'm like, this girl's probably going to hold up like a vial of blood. So, yeah.
This is a special blend of I can't tell you or I'll have to kill you.
You don't need to.
But no, I'm drinking. Let's see. This is my Head Games red wine because I had to have red for my blood.
Mhm.
And then, yes, I do have 2 bottles because this is a 2-hour show tonight. So the second one, if I get to it, which I will, it is my favorite wine right now.
That's so good.
It's so good. Witch's Brews. It is a pumpkin spice thing. Everybody, Meyer, but I will be drinking them out of, since this kind of scares me with this white coat, but I'm going to try it. This is like a blood cup. Isn't this cool? Someone got this for me.
What's the worst happens? You spill and you end up looking like someone we're going to talk about tonight. You know?
Right.
There's so many. I'm going to keep saying that. And by the way, I didn't bring 2 bottles of anything. I just made a triple vodka drink. So if halfway through the show, I start singing like show tunes or calling out serial killers that we're not even talking about tonight, just it's the vodka talking. Yeah.
I'm good with that. Okay, everybody. So that's our recap and we got our drinks. I hope you guys got your drinks and we are ready to dive into, go ahead. Kirsten, who are we talking about?
Okay.
What's the show about?
We are going to start with Dr. Jack Kevorkian, Dr. Death himself. And this is a super controversial topic, so I've been so excited to do this topic with all of you. I've done so much research for this, as I'm sure that you guys have as well. And I learned a lot of stuff I didn't know. And I kind of went into this, I'll just say, with one opinion and came out of it with a completely different one. But we're going to go through all talking points and I want everyone to participate. I want to hear your opinions on this. Right, wrong, or indifferent, you can always share. So I'm just going to dive right in and I'm going to do it a little bit different than I usually do. So I'm not going to give you Dr. Kevorkian's entire life story, his upbringing, his family history, his school graduation, and all his favorite foods. I don't think we need to do that because I
wanted to know what he eats on Saturdays.
Peanut butter and jelly with a glass of strawberry milk. Okay.
Okay, thank you. I feel better
You're welcome. Everybody knows, who he is, but just in case you don't, recap Dr. Death. He was someone who strongly, strongly believed in euthanasia, the right for someone to choose to die, that this is not a crime to choose that you want to end your own life. So he assisted people with ending their own lives. He did this in a couple different locations, but he's most notoriously known for his van, which he used to actually drive around in and ended many, many lives in this portable deathmobile. And he was also very famous for, thank you, Heather, that was his van, for going against the law, against the justice system and kind of saying, I am a doctor, I stand for my patients, and I am not worried about getting in trouble, which ultimately, depending on your opinion, he did end up getting in some trouble, but we're going to go through all that. So he's most well known for his quote, dying is not a crime. But also one of the things that he said that I really found captivating in watching all of my, specials that I watch on him was they asked Dr. Kevorkian at one point, was he worried about getting in trouble with the law or the legal system? And he said, no, I'm not worried at all. He said, no doctor or physician should ever worry about helping a suffering human being. The laws are immoral, not the doctor. And that was something that he felt very strongly about. So his name was actually Murad Jacob Jack Kevorkian. He was an American pathologist and a euthanasia proponent. He's most commonly known as Dr. Death, but I just found this. He also apparently was called Jack the Dripper, which I did not know that.
I did not know that either.
Yes.
Jack, I don't think I'd want to be called that.
I mean,
no.
It's creative. I'll say that.
I mean, it could have some different meanings. I mean, I don't know. Okay.
Yeah. He was born in 1928 in Michigan, also died in a hospital in Royal Oak, Michigan on June 3rd, 2011.
Look at that. I got his ID. That's how much research I've been doing.
Yes. So he is no longer with us. So we are going to try to tell his story the best we can. So it is said that over his life and over the period of only about 8 to 10 years, Kevorkian assisted in the deaths of 130 plus terminally ill people between the years of 1990 and 1998. So in each of these cases, though, allegedly, the individuals themselves pressed that final button, resulting in their death. They actually carried out the act, resulting in their own deaths. He was not the one. He allegedly only assisted by attaching them to a euthanasia device that he called Thanatron, which means death machine, from the Greek meaning of death for Thanatos. So Thanatron, death machine.
That's a big name. Like he just sat there for a while and was like, I'm gonna call it this.
Yeah, he named his killing machine. And then others actually were assisted by a device which was actually a gas mask fed by a canister of carbon monoxide, which he called Mercatron, which means mercury machine. Which
he liked the Tron stuff, huh?
Yeah. Yeah, you know, power
business.
Powerful. Yeah, definitely. So he basically, to recap again, about 130 assisted deaths in his van, sometimes in hotel rooms, sometimes in offices, sometimes in the people's houses. And then in November of 1998, which was pretty much the last year he was active in this, he videotapes the death of a gentleman named Thomas Yule and submits the entire video to CBS's 60 Minutes, where it is broadcasted on television for everyone to see. And this was pretty much to the point where he was full on against the law. I'll just say that. I'm going to do what I want.
Rebel without a cause.
Yes, I'm not worried about getting in trouble. The airing immediately prompts murder charges against Dr. Kevorkian, rather than assisted suicide charges, because he physically injected the drug into Thomas Yule, who had Lou Gehrig's disease, if anybody was wondering. But he is arrested for this and tried. So this is ultimately when he meets the law, is when he televises this death.
I mean, I think he wanted, like, he was ready to be, he was just testing it. And at the end of the day, you know, I watched yesterday this, and anybody that hasn't seen this, great watch.
Mm-hmm.
And they really go down. Did you watch it, Gigi?
I did, like 3 years ago.
Oh, it's so good. So, like, I watched it, like, yesterday or whatever, and it was, like, I mean, he did a great job portraying him. But, yeah, they show, like, the whole... He was kind of like wanting it to go to like the Supreme Court, and this was his push to it, that, you know, I'm going to do something so drastic that I'm going to put euthanasia on the map. Like, you should be able to do this. And I thoroughly agree with him. You know what I mean? Like, I feel like you should have the right as a person to say, I'm done. Like, I'm in so much pain. I mean, we let animals, we do not let animals suffer, right? Like, if an animal's getting sick, you take them, they put them down. Why do we treat humans in such a way that we feel that they need to stay, they need to suffer and go through this? Like, why can't you have the choice of your own life? You know what I mean? Like, if somebody wanted to, they could go kill themselves, and it's whatever. You know, this is somebody doing it in a way that helps them go cleaner. Their family has a whole part of this.
Right,
everybody's on the same page. I mean, is it maybe like, I don't know. I just think it's, I mean, I watched my mom suffer, and my mom back in the day was a huge Kevorkian fan before she got sick. Like, she was watching him, supporting him and everything. And I watched my mother for years suffer. And it was like modern medicine was keeping her alive. And it was the most sad thing in the world to watch somebody die slow. And I think that is more inhumane than letting somebody help them to the other side. So I am a huge Kevorkian fan, and I think it's sad that, you know, he's gone now, and this is kind of shelved, and we're going to still watch people suffer. And we might be those people. You know, I've watched my loved ones suffer, and we're going to probably be that way too, where we can have the choice to say, you know what, Doc, I'm done. Like, I'm done. I don't want my family to go this way no more. Why? You know what I mean? It's just, it's sad that we don't get that choice. So that's my take on it.
Okay.
Go ahead. Go back.
I'm going to touch more on that. So ultimately 1999, March, he's convicted of second-degree murder and the delivery of a controlled substance. He serves 8 years of he is sentenced to a 10 to 25 year prison sentence in Michigan. He serves 8 years before he's let out on parole. He was released on parole in 2007. And he was released on the condition that he would not offer advice about, participate in, or be present at the act of any type of euthanasia to any other person, as well as neither promote nor talk about the procedure of assisted suicide. And from what I have read, he actually died rather peacefully in no pain in the hospital, died rather calmly and not in any pain. So that's good. So I have a couple points here that I want to just touch on. And so as I'm doing my research, as I'm reading and watching all these things on Dr. Kevorkian, these are kind of the three biggest themes or talking points that I found sort of repeated. And I know that you guys are going to want to talk about this stuff. So I found both of these really, or all three of these, I guess I should say, really interesting. So the first, and believe it or not, I'm really not going to get into the religious aspect of this because obviously there is a lot of religion that ties into this with the God complex and with religion, but I'm not going to touch on that. Yes. So the first thing that I wanted to just touch on, and feel free to give your opinions. So it's something called compassionate care. So this sort of touches on our hospitals, our medical systems, our physicians, which he was a doctor and believed in medical work. So there is a clear distinction between a physician allowing a terminally ill person to decline treatment and die in the natural course of whatever terminal illness they may be suffering from, or the physician prescribing life-ending drugs to end a life. So what the medical world is saying is there's a clear distinction between this. They're saying that administering these life-ending drugs, pills, injections, whatever you want to call it, is fundamentally inconsistent with a physician's role as a professional doctor and trusted healer. The physician's role is to use his or her knowledge, insight, expertise, and healing skills to aid a patient, not to kill the patient. If this method would become a statutory option, which is, again, pills, injections to end your life, the physician may feel obligated to list it as an option, and therefore the patient may feel obligated to consider it in certain circumstances. It also becomes a huge moral debate. So assisted suicide, if legalized, will mean assisted by healthcare professionals, nurses, doctors, healthcare workers, who, regardless of their beliefs, whether that's religious or beliefs, medical degrees, any kind of beliefs, will ultimately be putting people to death. I mean, that's just a fact. They will be. And the mental state of these workers have to be considered over time. So again, this is just sort of a domino effect of some arguments that have been made. It could have a very adverse effect on these people who go into sort of the scientific and medical field, who at the end of their career might sit down and need therapy and say, I've killed, depending on how you look at it, murdered, whatever, hundreds and hundreds of lives. And that's not really what I went into when I went into the scientific field. So the God complex really comes into play. It could have a hand in the numbers of healthcare professionals declining. I mean, not really wanting to.
I mean, don't you think the healthcare providers are already playing God?
Oh, yeah, definitely. Actually, I love that you said that because I have a quote here that I want to read that you just brought it up. Hold on. Well, you can talk for a minute. I'm going to find the quote. But yes, I completely agree with
Well,
that.
I was going to say, like, okay, I wrote down, okay, hospice. I mean, hospice kind of is like that. You know, they kind of help transition. I mean, they do it a little bit differently, but I mean, they're the best thing that you have when it comes to that. You know, when hospice comes in, I mean, I just feel like they're, you know what I mean? They're not as Kevorkian, but thank God at some point they're there to help. Because I remember when my dad was passing, I told them, like, you do something or I'm going to do something. And hospice came in and they handled it. You know what I mean? But it was the same situation. They gave him a dose of medicine and that was kind of it. You know what I mean? And
I found the quote. So in 2010, he appeared on CNN, Anderson Cooper, and he said, so Anderson Cooper asked Dr. Kevorkian, you're saying doctors play God all the time. And Kevorkian said, absolutely, of course. Anytime you interfere with a natural process, doctor or not, you are playing God.
Exactly.
So
like if you're supposed to have heartburn, but we give a pill to stop it, you're interfering with that natural flow of life. That's why people died at back in the day at 18, 19, because they didn't have these things that progressed. You know what I mean? So it's just like, it is what it is. So it's like, this, it gets into be politics and religion.
It really does.
Versus anything else. And that's where anything in life seems to get mucked up, when you throw politics and religion into something. So
okay. So the second talking point is misdiagnosis. So a lot of illnesses, especially cancer. So, and I'm just going to use cancer as the talking point, but there's a lot of them. So cancer especially is notorious for defying accurate prognosis. Errors in diagnosis and prognosis can and do occur quite often. What about misdiagnosed or misunderstood illnesses? So I have an example. Rebecca Badger, who was a patient of Dr. Kevorkian's and a mentally troubled drug abuser. I thought I saw you waving your hand. I'm like, what?
I'm saying hi to people in the comments.
No, okay, squirrel. Okay. A mentally troubled drug abuser had been mistakenly diagnosed with multiple sclerosis. It's also stated that Kevorkian failed to refer at least 17 patients to a pain specialist after they complained of chronic pain, and sometimes failed to obtain a complete medical record for his patients. With at least 3 autopsies of suicides Kevorkian had assisted with, showing the person who committed suicide to have absolutely no physical sign of disease, which we all know mental can manifest into physical can manifest into mental. It's really kind of a slippery slope. So that's why this is sort of a debate. But we all know that even happens today. And I'm not trying to reference every Hallmark movie that's out there, but people are misdiagnosed. It does happen. And back then in the 70s, 80s, and 90s, I don't think that you would argue to say that we had much less knowledge, resources available to us, a lot less sort of at our fingertips.
Testing and stuff
Absolutely.
like that.
A lot less things to alleviate pain, less testing, right. So all I'm saying is it's sort of sad to think of how many people, and we wouldn't have known, that's not his fault, but how many people might have sort of pulled that plug early and not really known what was going on with them. So misdiagnosis, we think it's one thing, it's actually another, and they end their life and it's misunderstood. So
I mean, I think it seems like he really vetted all of these people. You know what I mean? Like, he seems like he went through it. The family was through it. So, I mean, I don't see him as a murderer. I see him as somebody trying to, make some kind of positive change in this world. And if somebody, I don't know. Do you know what I mean?
It's funny you say that, because allow me to offer a criticism. Okay.
Go ahead.
No.
I'm waiting.
Okay, here I go. According to a report by the Detroit Free Press, 60% of the patients who died with Kevorkian's help were not terminally ill, and at least 13 of them had not complained about any pain at all. The report further asserted that Kevorkian's counseling was way too brief, with at least 19 patients dying less than 24 hours after first meeting him. In a 2010 interview with Sanjay Gupta, Kevorkian stated an objection to the status of assisted suicide in Oregon, Washington, and Montana. At that time, only in those 3 states was assisted suicide legal in the United States, and then only for terminally ill patients. And Kevorkian said this: "What difference does it make if someone is terminal? We are all terminal. People should just be able to choose to end their lives if and when they want to." In his view, a patient had to be suffering, but did not have to be terminally ill or ill at all to be assisted in committing suicide. However, he also said in that same interview that he declined 4 out of every 5 assisted suicide requests on the grounds that the patient needed more treatment or medical records that had to be checked.
Now, did anybody ever do a psych on him? Like, was a psych ever done on him?
I don't believe so. I don't think that was ever.
The fact that he's calling everything Tron, I don't know.
And again, just to say again, not my opinion, just offering some, some studies that were done.
And he had the way with words too, just watching the movies and his interviews and stuff like that. He was very much a smooth talker.
Passionate.
Yeah.
when anybody's really like, this is how look at the, I mean, you're going to be like, oh, what are they talking? I mean, they're really passionate. This must mean something. So you sit down and kind of like, okay.
Right.
And I think he was very like in your, I mean, look at how this man, hold on, let me go back over here for a second. He really was making a stance. And when he had, Feiger jump in with him and, together, where's this picture I have? Right here. He was trying, because they wanted to hit him on this common law thing, and that's what they were trying to get him on. And he's like, they thought this was a big joke because, the common laws back in the day, they were crazy. If you look them up, everybody, there is some stuff that is just like, come on, like seriously, like if you look at like the craziest laws, just look them up, and you'll be like, what? Things that you didn't know should have.
Like, why
you do every day is
illegal. Why did that have to be made a law? What happened to make that happen?
Right, like you can't
exactly
drink wine with cake and be like, law.
Oh my God.
Law.
Okay, so my last talking point is the question of competency. So what the question that's posed is, what if these terminally ill patients with distress, those with unmet needs, it even went into sort of money problems with people not having available help that they need and stuff like that. Those with unmet needs at the moment, those under duress, or those whose judgment is clouded by pain or fatigue or fear, high levels of psychological distress, basically. Fear, fatigue, worry, and pain can and do adversely affect decision-making by terminally ill patients who are otherwise considered completely legally competent. In at least 19 cases of these patients of Dr. Kevorkian, they lacked a psychiatric exam, 5 of which cases involved people with histories of extreme depression. So then they went into talking about Janet Adkins, who was Kevorkian's first euthanasia patient, had been chosen without Kevorkian ever speaking a word to her, only speaking to her husband. And that when Kevorkian first met Adkins 2 days before her assisted suicide, he made no real efforts to discover whether or not Miss Adkins wished to end her life. Again, speculation is that he just spoke to the husband. And so it says studies of those who sought out Dr. Kevorkian, however, suggest that though many had a worsening illness, it usually was not terminal. Autopsy showed 5 people had no disease at all. Little over a third were in pain. Some presumably suffered from no more than hypochondria or depression. So coercion is also a point here to consider. They even brought this up in several articles. I hate to even say this, but it happens. Patients who, very elderly patients who have relatives who want an inheritance or have their own, agenda, something to gain, that support their loved ones right into that situation, basically. So again, this kind of goes back into the politics.
And this is where you get to, maybe if somebody would have supported him and made this to where they're overseeing this instead of bucking what he was doing, they would have been able to have these clearer records, these clearer cases, but they were so against him that I feel like Kevorkian kind of went into this like, I got to get this done for this person if I'm going to help them, because they're going to be on my ass in 24 hours and I'm not going to be able to help them. And I think that's where his mind started to go. So if we had like multiple doctors, like, okay, we have a psych to talk to them. We had one little guy with a machine and his friend or his coworker, that was doing this, trying to help people. So I think without the education and the support of other people, I think that's where maybe some of this fell short, but it could have been something that should have been good and helpful if he had the backing. You know what I mean?
I actually completely agree with that. I think that there probably was a way to do this, but you also have to take the times into consideration. So maybe things weren't as easy back in those days as they would have been now. But I think that with the right resources and had he gone through the right channels, he may have been able to do this in, like.
Oh, no, don't say that.
I'm under financial distress.
We all are.
No.
The gas prices. We're all in this together.
Crystal, you left me high and dry at my job. I don't want to hear about it. And now she's talking all this crap. You know what? Just be quiet.
And then some people did think is wrong, but then as you get older, you do start to rethink it. You know what I mean? Like, do you want to, I don't want to leave my kids, you know what I mean, taking care of me and all this stuff if, something goes wrong with me. Like, I feel bad. So, and here you go.
And it sucks that you have to do it like in a van.
You know what I mean? And let's go back to this.
Yeah.
Like, I have to just like pull
Yeah,
this
let's talk
up
about
real
the
quick.
van.
So like,
his
I mean,
van, as I'm sure a lot of our paranormal fans as well know that Zach Bagans ended up buying that van.
Yes, I actually seen it.
Yeah, it was in a pawn shop actually in Michigan, and it went through a couple different channels. At one point, I read it was on eBay for like $1,500 or something.
We pawn everything in Michigan.
Yeah, and then they ended up getting so it is in the
it ain't tied down. We pawning it.
Yeah, exactly.
They actually, it's in a room by itself, and then he actually has all the names of the people. I'm not going to say victims.
That's nice.
All on the wall.
Patience.
As a memorial. Yeah, like as soon as you walk in there, though, it's so. I can't.
The energy.
Yeah, it was just like, okay, I need a moment, so I'm going to be back here.
I'd love
that. Because like,
is that in Vegas?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Sidetrack. Sorry, guys. We do that. I'm going to Vegas. I want to see all that
It's
stuff.
in the museum that I'm dying to go to. I don't care all the criticism about him.
I want to go too.
It's like number one on my like.
That's $35 you will ever spend.
I might go there for my birthday.
Okay.
I always take a birthday trip, and I think that's what I want to do.
I'm coming.
So everybody, I will put up my Cash App and go ahead and send me some money for my birthday trip.
Okay, so I'm gonna the last thing that I want to actually read to you guys, I just have to read this word for word. Is so Dr. Kevorkian gets arrested after publicly televising that one death. So after a 2-day trial, a Michigan jury finds him guilty of second-degree homicide, and he is sentenced to 10 to 25 years in prison, of which he served 8 years. And I want to read to you the judge's, her name was Judge Jessica Cooper, her sentencing delivery, because I found this to be pretty, I don't know the word I want to use. Like, I fall somewhere in the middle. So you like have to understand about me that it's funny because I had cancer. I was a cancer patient, sort of faced with death. I also grew up in a very strict law enforcement family that believed in the law. The law is there for a reason. And that's not a blanket statement. Things are wrong. I don't agree with probably more than half I don't agree with, but I do think that there are laws for a reason. So I think that she said it sort of in a really good sort of neutral way. So I want to read this to all of you. So she asks him to stand in court for his sentencing along with his lawyers. And she says to him, "This is a court of law. And you said you invited yourself here to take a final stand, but this trial was not an opportunity for referendum. The law prohibiting euthanasia was specifically reviewed and clarified by the Michigan Supreme Court several years ago, and a decision involving your very own cases, sir. So the charge here should come as no surprise to you. You invited yourself to the wrong forum. We are a nation of laws. We are a nation that tolerates differences of opinion because we have a civilized and nonviolent way of resolving our conflicts. That way is the law and adherence to the laws. And we have the means and the methods to protest the laws with which we disagree." She says, "You can criticize the law. You can write or lecture about the law. You can speak openly to the media or petition the voters. But you must always stay within the limits provided by the law. You may not break the law, and you may not take the law into your own hands. In point of fact, the issue of assisted suicide was addressed in this state by referendum just last November. And while the proponents of that were out campaigning, you were with Thomas Yo." So I referenced Thomas Yo, the gentleman that he put to death, televised it. So while people were out fighting for his beliefs, she says, you were with Thomas Yo. And the voters of the state of Michigan said no. And they said no 2.5 to 1, that they did not agree with assisted suicide. But we are not here talking about assisted suicide. When you purposely inject another human being with what you know to be a lethal dose of poison, that, sir, is murder. And the jury so found. Now, you vilified the jury and the justice system in this case, but Every member of that jury had empathy and compassion for Thomas Yo. They had a higher duty, a duty that went beyond personal sympathy and emotion for that gentleman. They took an oath to follow the law, not to nullify it, and I am bound by a very similar oath. No one is unmindful of the controversy and emotion that exists over end-of-life issues and pain control, and I assume that the debate will continue in a calm and reasonable forum long after this trial ends and your activities abated from public activity. But this trial is not about that controversy. This trial was about you, sir. It was about you and the legal system. And you have ignored and challenged the legislature and the Supreme Court. And moreover, you have defied your own profession, a medical profession. You stood before this jury and you spoke of your duty as a physician. You repeatedly spoke of treating patients to relieve their pain and suffering, but you don't have a license to practice medicine. The state of Michigan told you 8 years ago that you may not practice medicine. You may not treat patients. You may not possess, let alone administer or inject drugs into another human being. Now, the reason the guidelines in this particular case are so high is because of the drug conviction in count 2. And everyone seems to have glossed right over this particular offense. But you had no right to be in possession of any type of a controlled substance, let alone deliver it to anyone else. There are several valid considerations in sentencing for you, and one of them is rehabilitation. But based upon the fact that you have publicly and repeatedly announced your intentions to disregard the laws of this state, I question whether you will ever cease and desist. The fact that your attorney in the pre-sentencing investigation says that you were out of business from this point forward does not negate your past statements or actions. Another consideration, and perhaps even stronger factor in sentencing, is deterrence. This trial was not about the political or moral correctness of euthanasia. It was all about you, sir. It was about lawlessness. It was about disrespect for a society that exists and flourishes because of the strength of its legal system. No one, sir, is above the law. So let's talk just a little bit more about you specifically. You were on bond to another judge when you committed this offense. You were not licensed to practice medicine when you committed this offense, and you had not been licensed for 8 years. And you had the audacity to go on national television, show the world what you did, and dare the legal system to stop you. Well, sir, consider yourself stopped. Staying within the presumptively valid guidelines of the Supreme Court of this state, and considering the circumstances of this case, it will be the sentence of this court that you spend from 10 to 25 years within the Michigan Department of Corrections.
Why do I feel like I just got in trouble? I just feel like I'm like, what did I do? She's really laying into me.
And that was it.
That was like a whole lot.
I kind of love that because she says a bunch of times, this isn't about euthanasia or your belief or not in it. This is about you consistently challenging the law. And, you know, I even read things, this is a really big rabbit hole, so I'm not going to get too deep in this, but even reading things in these articles about, like, we can't even think about, have you ever seen like what a constitutional law looks like? It's like 1,000 pages to something that we think is just something so simple. They were even bringing it down to, you know, they got into, like I said, the doctors and nurses and the obligations of that. But then they even talked about, well, if we legally approve someone to take a pill, what about the people who can't swallow pills? Now we have to go down the route of injections, but then there's people who are scared of needles. And then there's people that protest the use of needles or pills. And then there's people that it like went down this whole rabbit hole about legalizing this. And it got totally away from the religious side of it and the political side of it. Go ahead.
Okay. My thing is here is, okay, but we have the death penalty. You know what I mean? So like that's okay. You know what I mean? So we can put someone, we can't, how, if we're going to be like this and we're going to be like, you cannot do this, then how does the law get to put someone to death, and that's okay. Yeah, I understand, however, I'm just putting it in comparison to this. You know what I mean? Like, I don't really, death penalty, whatever, it is what it is. But in comparison to this, how is it that the law, just like in anything, like cops can speed, we can't speed. So you could put someone to death, but a doctor who is helping someone that wants to die, they can't. I mean, I don't know. I just think it's a bunch of bullshit.
There's a lot of gray area in there, and it would take way beyond our lifetimes, I think, to even sort through all that gray area, and just nobody wants to do it.
Suffer in the meantime. You know what I mean? So let's see. We got comments. Yeah. You can. Exactly. Yeah. They could be morally gray. Exactly. But I just feel like if you're going to say you can't do, like, doctors can't, like, I mean, Kevorkian was a very good doctor or whatever. Like, he was a doctor. They gave him a license. His patients loved him. If a doctor can't do it, you can have Jim Bob that works at the correction flip a switch and can fry someone. I don't know. I know the doctors come in. You get where I'm coming from. It's just like, come on. You got to stand by what you say. You shouldn't be able to do that if you can't do this. So, that's my opinion.
And I think they even went down the route of, like, mental illness and suicides and stuff like that. And I mean, I can't tell you how many different routes, obviously, this went down. But I did read, and I didn't even put the statistics together because it's way too much and we don't even need to go into that. But there are a lot of states and avenues now that you can pursue. They don't even call it assisted suicide, but if you are terminally ill or you want to end your life, there are a couple states. Oregon was a big one. A lot of people are going to Oregon to have this done. But the thing that I like about this is it really is through all the proper channels. I mean, it really does come down to this is your only option, and you get to choose exactly how you want to go. And so a lot of states did pass laws where they're considering it now.
Oh yeah. And there is, like you say, Colorado and all that. But my thing is, do you think they kind of stopped all of this? Because if it's an assisted suicide by a doctor, would they be able to collect on that insurance? You know what I mean? Because if it's a suicide and deemed suicide, you cannot collect on insurance policy.
That's a great question.
So do they block it because if you assist the suicide, they can still collect on that insurance policy?
I don't think it's considered suicide.
So they would be able to collect on the policy. Therefore, maybe that, everything's political. It's going to come into it, and they don't want people to collect benefits. So you're still doing suicide, which they don't want you to do, and it's that block on the insurance to make you, it's that clause, okay, we're not paying out. Is that their way to get out of it? Like, okay, we need to stop this because we don't want to pay out on these insurance policies.
On what they're putting on the death certificates, whether it says suicide or it's all about the terminology.
Yeah, I wonder if these people that that were assisted suicide were they able to collect on their insurance policies? Because I guarantee if that was in effect, they're not going to want this to go through because they don't want to pay on these policies. You know what I mean? I work in the insurance business, so I know, like, we will stop it if we can stop it. You know what I mean? So, like, I don't know. I think that would be a big thing because if everybody's just like, well, I'm in pain, I want to end it, they know they can collect on their insurance policy. So I wonder, we'd have to look into that if they actually were able to collect on those. Because like you said, greedy kids that wanted things, did they get the insurance policy? You know what I mean?
It says death with dignity is what it's called. So one thing says, even in death with dignity states, choosing death may void your life insurance coverage. But then another thing says there is a huge common misconception that utilizing medical aid in dying or death with dignity will have a negative impact on insurance coverage. But the fact is there's no connection at all between the denial of insurance coverage and death with dignity. So I think it's something we would have to look into. Yeah.
Money always plays a factor into things. You know what I mean? Money, government. I mean, it's always.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean,
he was. Let's show some pictures. What do you guys think in the comments? Do you think he's a murderer or was this mercy? Murder or mercy? Let's hear it. I say mercy. I don't know.
I mean, I absolutely do not think it was murder. Like I said, though, just being like raised completely within like law family, I kind of say Well, you know what? I'm not even talking about him. You can't in any situation just go, I'm against the law. I'm just going to go I'm going to go do whatever the hell I want to do. Like, well, I mean, I guess you could, but I'm sorry.
So is he a vigilante?
Yeah, you can't just do that. You can't decide. I'm like stomping my foot. You can't just decide to do that. But he did, and he helped a lot of people. And that's why I said I fall right in the middle. I think just because of those times.
Randy.
He would have been able to figure stuff out maybe if it was nowadays. But I think for then, he used what he knew best for his resources, and he did what he thought was right. And I don't think he was doing wrong. But
he was trying to help as many people as he could. So it added up real quick. But
I watched one of the videos where he asked somebody, so you're done. Like, you don't want to be here. And she goes, no, I don't want to live. And she was not, crying. She goes, I don't want to go on. And he's like, so you want to end your life? And she's like, I want to go. I want to go. I want to choose it. I don't want to be here anymore. Mm-hmm. So I was going to say every single point that I made in the last hour really just boils down to one simple question. Is it really up to us as the individual? Like, should we really be able to choose how and when we go or not?
Yes.
Obviously, I read the more extreme articles which said if everybody could just be committing suicide all over the place, left and right, and the world would be a crazy place. And it's like, that's not really what we're talking about. It's just,
people can do that. People do that.
Yeah, I like this. See, this is good. You don't if your quality of life is ruined and you can clearly see that your loved one is in pain, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
I would rather die 1,000 deaths than have my kids have to go through watching me die slow. You know what I mean? Let me make that choice before I'm out of my mind and can't make the choice. You know what I mean? And I think a lot of people, like someone said in the comments earlier, Alzheimer's is not considered terminal, and I agree with that, because at some point you're not going to know anything. And I don't want my kids to have to make that decision. Well, we got to put mom in a home, and then they live with maybe that guilt and everything that they go through. You know what I mean? Like, let me make my choice to be done. You know what I mean?
And I do want to say, like, to be fair, because I forgot to add this, one thing that he always did say, despite all his criticism, was, I only resort to this avenue once all conventional medical avenues have been exhausted. So he did say, I think he did believe in his medical background, because he said, I only will do this once we've exhausted everything. All pills, all medicine, all psychiatry, all everything. I will only do this once we've explored every conventional medical option and it has failed. And this person is still suffering. So
I love this comment. You know what I mean? Technically, we always have the choice to die, and when we want. The question is, do we have the right to health care to assist in our death? Yes.
Absolutely.
And I love that comment, because we should.
Right. Yes.
We should have the health care. Health care is our health care. I mean, look at the words. We should make the choice, and you help us with that. You know what I mean? And if we choose to die, and they can go through that and say, okay, this person does only have so many months to live or whatever, or they have dementia and they don't even know what's happening and they want to go, let them make that choice. You know what I mean? It's a hot topic. It seriously is. I mean, it's one of those, like you said, like, you got the church people coming in. I mean, the church people are going to come in regardless. You know what I mean? And assist us to live, not to die. This is good to me, because it's like, okay, obviously medicine is trying to keep people here and they're trying to make them live. But frankly, look at what they put people through with chemo. Okay. You give people chemo to get rid of a cancer and you give them 3 other cancers. You know what I mean? So it's like you're assisting them to live, but you're killing them at the same time. You know what I mean? So you're still playing God. And at the end of the day, it's still the outcome. You are delaying the inevitable.
Remember this conversation if I end up with 3 kinds of cancer. She said it.
I got you.
Right. So yeah, it's definitely. Thank you, everybody. I'm glad I wish I could see your guys' name.
I know.
StreamYard into your life. You know what? Next year, what we're going to do with Chillin' and Killin', we're going to move this to an actual Facebook page and not this group, because with this group, this is what happens. So starting on our next show, everybody, we're going to make an actual page for this, and you guys, we're going to move everybody over there. We're going to go over there so I can see everybody's name. I don't like this. I want to they're like, hey, Charlie, hey, Jan. Like, I want to know who I'm talking to. So.
Oh, yeah.
But yeah, okay, back to this. Any closing points on this before we get into our next topic?
I mean, I think I said it all. I really don't have any closing points.
Murder or mercy for you? What is it? Murder or mercy?
It's murdercy.
I was just gonna say that.
I'm kidding. No. It's for me. It's mercy. I think ultimately these people did make their own choices. I think there might have been a better way to do it. Like I said, it's just my mind kind of gets pulled into like the complications of everything. But I think if I can lay it out just simply, I think it was mercy. I think if you decide you don't want to live anymore and you have been through it, years and years and years of pain or depression or whatever the reason is, I think you should be able to make your choice. So I think it's mercy. Yeah.
Okay, Gigi, what about you?
Nah.
She's like me. See? Murder, but she's afraid.
Oh, murder's murder. Okay, so when you look up the definition of murder, it is what it is. But again, what he was doing, I just don't think he took the right channels. He didn't. There wasn't time, and you have to put yourself like in his train of thought was, I need to help people, and I need to help them now before I get arrested. Mm-hmm. So I need to do.
It's a good point. It's a good point. Yeah.
As he could. It wasn't just because he was like getting off on, helping people die. It was he was literally trying to help them. He didn't have time to go through the channels because, like I said before, to go through all that's going to be way out of our lifetimes. Even like we would never see them in every gray area in between to answer every question.
You know what I almost think is I think they almost need a new word for him, because murder is, I mean, of all the definitions, of anything else, it's against that person's will. Okay. Right. So these people wanted to go. They were volunteering. They were saying, I want to go. Yeah. But I agree with you. There needs to be a different word for it. Because like you said, he kind of was punching that against that clock. Like, I know I'm going to meet the end of this one way or another. So I have to, they said at one point, like he had 4 people in one day or something. I think it was like a scramble to help as many people as he could. Yeah. So, yeah.
Yeah, and here's this comment that they could have gone through more legit avenues to uphold the law. Yeah, but it does come in the red tape. Yeah. He didn't want to get caught up in the red tape, which he would have been caught up in it forever.
Absolutely. And not be able to help anybody.
I mean, if you're sitting there, you feed somebody, and all you have, you know what I mean, and you only have a second before you're gonna do what you can to help him. And I think he was kind of, in my mind, I feel like he was just trying to do the best he could. I'm a Kevorkian fan, so like you couldn't convince me otherwise. So I think it's the right thing to do.
Say this too. I mean, if you really want to say, I mean, for what his beliefs were and what he was trying to do, I'm not saying this was the best scenario, but 8 years for a lifetime of helping 130 something people, maybe even more, 8 years. And he came out and lived the rest of his life. And he even did speeches, lectures.
Did he run for office?
Yeah, they were not about euthanasia or assisted suicide. They were often about just the law, taxes, the government, stuff like that. But he really lived a very fulfilled life. So, he
and fulfilled his purpose. That he obviously thought that was his
I mean, at least he got some states to turn over and have that. Yeah. So it's a fight that, at least was won in some areas.
Yeah.
So
he did. He got a lot of people to listen, and a lot of states now. You can go to a lot of places and have that done. Death with dignity. So,
So rest in peace, Jack Kevorkian.
Rest in peace, Jack the Dripper.
Stop it. Now we change. We have to change for our next episode. I mean, I don't have a jean jacket or anything, but
you gotta excuse me for a minute, because this is good.
I don't have anything. I'm just gonna take off my medical coat. So we're going into the next topic, everybody. Bloop, bloop, bloop. Medical coat off. Okay, time to get. There we go, everybody. What are we talking about? What do you think we're talking about here? I got some. Oh God, we're so awful. If you know what we're about to talk about,
right.
go ahead and
Wait,
say
I got
it.
my jean jacket. I got my glasses. Wait, how can I do this better?
Why does your house smell so bad?
I got some pork that went bad.
Went bad.
What? You didn't take it out and throw it in the garbage?
Why
Okay,
do I
everybody.
need power tools? I'm renovating my apartment.
Everybody,
That one
we
girl.
just released. Well, the release of this was I did. I personally released this on Netflix. So we are going to talk about this, and if you've seen it, put in the comments. Seen it. So we are going to talk about Dahmer.
Yeah.
This was done good, I feel like. So I'm excited about talking about this.
Oh, good is not the word. Yep.
And I get in trouble all the time for talking about Dahmer, so I'm not going to really say his name because I always get put in Facebook jail. But now this is time. I can finally let loose. Netflix came out with it. People have been posting it. The memes that I've been locked up for have been recycled, and it's been, I guess, okay.
Yeah. So listen,
I think it was just.
Can I wait before we start? Can I make another? I want to make our safe statement that I usually make at the beginning of every show, which is, to everyone, we love you, but if you are going to be offended by anything that we're going to say, we kindly ask you to drop off right now because, again, we have utmost empathy, sympathy for the victims, everything.
Yes.
But this is to talk about the absolute, the realism of this show and what was real, what was fake. Let's talk about Jeffrey Dahmer. If it's going to offend you, you have the right as an American citizen to turn us off. So turn us off.
Please,
Yes.
if you're going to get offended, leave.
If not, please pour a big drink because we're going to be talking about the meat sandwich that he served his neighbor. So pour the big drink and we're going to talk about our guy here, Jeffrey Dahmer. So
Jeffrey Dahmer, let's break it down, everybody. I'm glad that everybody has seen this. Well, a lot of people in the chat have seen this. And I mean, I really think that Evan Peters did an amazing job.
Phenomenal.
It was insane.
And what was most, okay, she already gave the disclosure. I don't need to say it. What I thought was most disturbing was how many people that didn't know who Dahmer was until Netflix. Like, I literally went to go to Sally's Beauty Supply, and they were talking about we didn't even know who was Jeffrey Dahmer, and I'm like, seriously? Like, I remember when he was arrested.
Our lifetime,
had no clue who he was. No clue. I mean, people obviously are living sheltered lives and Baby Shark and all that stuff. So I guess
I was gonna say you can't blame it on our age. You can't blame it on the time. He's one of the integral. If you don't know that name or that, that story, I don't know how you don't. I mean,
get out of the true crime world. Get out of here.
Yeah. World. It was everywhere.
So this opening scene, okay, we're gonna go down the rabbit hole of this whole show. I mean, we're talking about the show, Dahmer. We're gonna kind of spin it all together. The opening scene, okay, I was kind of before he started doing this, I was I'd play along. That's how I would get out of it. I'd be like, okay, you can take some. I mean, when you're in some shit, when you start seeing a tank laying somewhere
in a bedroom right next to your bed,
and there's blood behind you, I'd be like, oh sure, I love Exorcist 3, watch it every Sunday. You know, I'm playing into all of the things you love. What else are we doing? Oh, Polaroid cameras, love them. Awesome. Let's take some pictures in front of the Exorcist movie. Sure. I'm playing all of that, and that's what that guy did, and you know what I mean. And
well, you know what I mean. I said this. I said this, we were chatting a little bit before the show started, and I said this, and I'm going to say it again. I had a very basic knowledge of Jeffrey Dahmer. Of course, I knew who he was. I knew the story, but I didn't have those in-depth little details, primarily because I don't want to say it didn't interest me, but this is where I'm going to admit that I put him in a box as something. I don't know how to explain it. Something non-human is the best way I could explain it. When I would look at serial killers and I would say, okay, we have our Ted Bundys, we have our John Wayne Gacy's, Richard Ramirez, Jeffrey Dahmer. What I was reading and what I was hearing, I wasn't even that interested, simply for the fact that I was like, there's no depth. He's so far gone. Like, he's so insane. He's so in this box by himself that he's almost mindless. Yeah, I get it. This guy that's chopping people up and eating them. I won't even be able to like identify with any basic human aspect of this person. So I'm not interested. So I didn't study a whole lot about him. And then when this show came out, I said, to be fair, I had tried to watch a couple documentaries on him and I was like, whatever. But when this show came out, I said to Heather, I have watched this show, Monster, 3 times already. That's like a disturbing level of, since it came out like 1 week ago. I've watched this show on repeat 3 times. I've watched, like she said, the Jeffrey Dahmer tapes just came out this week then. And I had no idea. And what I said to her before the show was, I have now moved him way below Ted Bundy, John Wayne Gacy, on my list of sort of those terrorizing people, because people will hate this, but he almost has more of a human aspect to him than a lot of people that I've
Bundy.
seen.
He doesn't have that narcissistic element that Bundy, Gacy, all of them have, where they have no empathy. They're just like,
they were downright sick in the head. He's
sick in the head, but it was like,
but he had empathy after it. Like he could shut it off almost. He just didn't want them to leave. He didn't want to be left.
See, people want to say like, you can't chalk it up to A through Z. You can't chalk it up to their parents, their raising, medical stuff, drugs, friends, bullying. They say you can't chalk it up to this stuff, but I think he was sick and I think he knew it. And he admitted it time and time again. He said to the cops, I know you guys are going to try to figure this out, but I just think I was born this way. I think something's wrong with me. And he asked time and time again, I would love to understand why I'm like this. He told them everything at the same time that John Wayne Gacy and Ted Bundy were denying everything. He said, I'll give you every detail. He even said, I'd like to do justice by the victims, which again, I'm not like sticking up for him. I'm just saying, as soon as he did it, he even said to them, I didn't really mean to kill anybody. I just wanted people to be with me. I might not have understood in that moment, but
that's what I'm saying.
There's like a weird, it almost freaked me out watching it, because I can not even empathize with him is not the word. It's almost like I can understand where he's coming from.
Yes.
You talk about severe isolation. You know what I mean? Everybody in your life leaving you, having absolutely nobody. I mean, some people can handle these things, you know what I mean? And sometimes, the brain, but how long? You know what I mean? If you had absolutely nobody, you look at prisoners or whatever that are stuck in isolation for so long and they come out and it's like, they're different and everything are broken. And that's what they're trying to do to break them. And isolation does that. It's like a psychological kind of thing to break them. So you have somebody young being isolated like that. What's the effect on the brain? And I really wish they would have studied his brain. Like, I'm a brain person, everybody. I feel like if you could see it on a scan, you know what I mean? I think because we've done shows where we've seen like a psychopath brain compared to a normal brain, and it actually will show on a scan. And I don't know. I just feel like they should have done more study. They were just more like, throw it out. And it's like, you have this guy who did these things. Wouldn't you want to study that brain a little bit more when he's gone? I mean, I think that was a very missed opportunity,
Well, they should do that with anybody that in cannibalism, Ed Gein, oh my gosh, now I'm like, ugh. Dennis Nelson, like they,
I mean, there's a lot.
Other thing.
I mean,
am I the only one that fucking hated his mom?
Oh my God, right? Like,
as a mom, I'm like, oh my God, you are.
Like, why did she leave him? Like, I was like, felt so bad for him. Like, but I'm sorry, guys, we're watching the movie, so it's.
But the other thing I thought was like, I don't care what you say about blaming this or that. I'm sorry, but in that show, did that doctor not say that mother was taking upwards of 26 pills a day while she was pregnant with him? That is going to affect.
Well, you think about, Well, think about back then, okay? Like even when I was born, okay, you were allowed to smoke in the hospitals. You know what I mean? Like I'm a severe asthmatic. My mom was smoking. Right. There was no Surgeon General warnings on nothing. So like think about him. You know, he goes back even further. What were they allowed to do during pregnancy? You know what I mean? So it's like these things we know now affect the brain. They affect the development of the child.
And
you know what I mean?
Didn't know then.
And if she's popped up on all these pills and I mean, we don't know what the effect of an antidepressant does on a baby or the medication that she was taking with alcohol. I mean, I don't know. You know what I mean? Like we don't know.
Is like, because I got this question from, I don't know. I may have gotten it from my husband. I'm not sure. But the thing that people brought to my attention was, you know, because a lot of people say, were you born with this? Is it something hereditary? Which is a huge argument. And you know, you kind of think to the fact that Ted Bundy had a brother, completely normal. The Unabomber had a brother, completely normal. A lot of people, and so did Jeffrey Dahmer, had a brother. All these people have siblings that turn out completely fine. So you have to, like, if you're really, really going to take that stance that this was something that you inherited, then why are all these siblings completely?
How do we know they're completely normal, though?
You know, well, not
maybe they got some point of the moral compass.
Not eating people. I don't know.
I mean, maybe people just hide it better. Like we said, I mean, we've seen studies where psychopaths are out there. They just know how to suppress it a little bit better than others. You know what I mean? They take up a hobby or something to suppress their actual feelings. So you find out Jeffrey Dahmer, you know, you're Jeffrey Dahmer's brother and he does this stuff. Do you sign like, oh, the feelings that I have? Amen. I love him. Like he's that's my dude. But like, do you then say, okay, I should probably maybe start learning to bake? Not people, cakes.
Well, okay. Do you guys remember when they arrested Dahmer?
Oh, I was in high school. I just aged the shit out of myself, but yeah, I was in high school. I don't. I'm fine. I'll be 46. I'll be 46 in January. I'm perfectly fine with that. But yeah, I mean, I remember when he got killed. I was like, I mean, when I was younger, I was like, good. You know what I mean? But I was a shit ass teenager. Now I'm like, I wish he wouldn't have, so they could have like actually studied him a little bit more. You know what I mean? Same with Bundy. Same with all of them. I think they should have been able to like talk to them more. You know what I mean?
Right. But, so that memory I had, and it jogged it from watching the movie or the show. So it must have been right after he got arrested. I remember being at my aunt's house and my cousins and my aunt packed us a little lunch. Okay. So we go up in the little tree house. Guess what we're having for lunch? Jeffrey Dahmer tuna fish sandwiches.
What? Did you call them Jeffrey Dahmer tuna fish sandwiches?
At the age of 9.
I love you.
What? And like we were so young. So like that literally stuck with us forever. And we're like, parents never said anything. They never corrected it. You know, oh, we're going to have Jeffrey Dahmer turkey at Thanksgiving. It was normal.
I can say I never did that, but I appreciate your
9-year-old.
Your tea parties are a little bit different. I love you for it.
Well, like honestly, we did not know the extent of like.
Oh, of course.
Met, you know, but we're like, we're eating Jeffrey Dahmer. Like, really? Let me see that. Oh, and I am also using, since we're talking about Dahmer, my Dahmer.
Did I get a picture? I have to show you guys what Gigi's daughter drew. She drew this or painted this. Let me see. Let me get to this. This is
she just got into.
This is what Gigi's daughter did. How awesome is this?
She's like, Mom, look what I did.
That's really freaking good. Like she did a really good job.
Really good.
She's very, very good with artistic stuff. I like the hot glue gun stuff. She likes to paint and draw.
Well, she's really good at it. She's gonna do a serial killer. She's gonna do our killer every single time we have a show. So like, tell her be ready, and that's what's gonna happen.
Like, this is what you're doing now, Des. Sorry.
But with this movie, I mean, I'm gonna show you guys just some pictures. I mean, they casted really good. I mean, I think they did a good job. I mean, look at. I just think Well, this is a little different. That guy don't look like that guy, but like,
they did. They did
a
wow.
Now the family. Okay, they're bitching about this documentary, but saying, well, Netflix never came to us, but it's public record. Netflix doesn't have to come to them. You know what I mean?
We can make a movie if we wanted to.
Yeah, if anything's public record, you can go to them. Like, okay, more like ethically, should Netflix have gone to them? I mean, that would have been a lot of like red tape. I think they would have put themselves into if they would have had to go and try to get a release from everybody. Because I feel like people would have been like, well, we want profits from it at the end of the day, you know, and wanted that profit from the movie. So I think they just knew they didn't have to. They could just go ahead and do this. I mean, all this court stuff was, it's all court records. We can go look at it on YouTube right now. That makes it public record. So they didn't have to get those released from the families. But I know the families have been out there complaining and everything. So I'm sorry for their loss, but they don't have to do that, you know?
I'll say this about the show for anybody who has not seen the show yet. I will say this. A lot of people, like I've read on my Facebook feed and stuff like that a lot of people thought the show was drawn out or slow or, you know, I'll say this. They did not just highlight or do a show on Jeffrey Dahmer. This was largely about the victims. And a lot of people have said that they did a really wonderful job of honoring the victims and telling the stories and like highlighting, you know, the beautiful parts of them. And I totally agree with that.
I do too. I didn't even know a lot of the victims until this documentary came out, and then you got to see it from the victim's point of view. So I really think Netflix did a really good job at that.
They did, and added in the families and stuff, made them human.
Yes.
Yeah, and you really were like, especially the deaf one that I forget his name. Tony, was it? I forget his name, but like his. Okay, yeah. And I was so like like my heart was broke because I'm like, Jeffrey, like he really cares about you. Will you sound like advocating, like just, but he was so scared to lose him.
He's not going to lose you, or he's not going to leave.
Separation anxiety, huge on Dahmer's side. You know what I mean? And I'm sure all of us have experienced separation anxiety from time to time where you're just like, you're anxious because you don't want. I mean, when my kids walk out the door, I get that when they're gone, I'm like, oh yeah, like when are they gonna, you know what I mean? So separation anxiety is super huge, I think, with Dahmer and all of his other things inside of him. And that's where that one turned bad, unfortunately. And I feel like he was, I don't know. Because I don't know, because at times he was like, I didn't even know their names. So like at times it's like, you know,
it's like you said, I think that was more ignorance than anything when he said, I didn't know their names. It's almost like this. I'm not saying that killers or sociopaths can't have that sort of calm facade, but I will say this. I think he had it at a whole other level. And I think that's because I do believe him when he says, I wasn't really trying to like angrily murder anybody. I don't think that's really what he was trying to do. And I think that he portrays it perfectly in the scene where his victim Conrad gets away when he's getting more to drink. And so this is the young, like 14-year-old victim that gets away.
That shit pissed me off with the police.
But I think that this is beyond a case of, I believe my own bullshit, therefore I'm calm. I think that this was his true. He walked back calm as anything, talked to those police and said, you know, this is my boyfriend. I'm taking him upstairs. And I think that level of calm and that level of, you know, there were even a lot of scenes in the movies, little things where somebody would just knock or ask him about a smell or ask him about why something was on his floor or ask him why he was bloody or ask him something. And his answers were so calm and quick and calm that I don't think it was fake.
Natural with it.
Really so you think if you're calm, you can probably get away with anything. So okay, like
not even calm.
Just Kirsten, why does your house smell? Go ahead.
I think he was just numb, almost like he believed. Truthfully, he believed his own, like he was that good. Like he just.
Well, people can pass lie detector tests that believe their own shit. You know what I mean? So like, if you go in there with that mind frame that, you know, like, you are are they pathological liars or whatever? What's the one where you believe your own bullshit? Yeah. So you're like, you literally are. I mean, I think Bundy is a good example of that. I feel Bundy could have passed the lie detector test because Bundy was thoroughly convinced that he was in the right. And I feel like, when you convince yourself of that, you go in with that. I think you can almost make other people believe that. And I think Dahmer being calm, Dahmer being like, oh yeah, no. Did privilege play a factor in this? You know what I mean? Like, I don't know. I mean, I don't know.
Grandma, he got feisty with Grammy a couple times.
Oh my God, I was getting so pissed. Like, stop yelling at your grandma.
Yeah,
like,
you don't talk to your grandma that way.
You're in her house. You don't talk to your grandma.
Oh my God,
like
no,
that.
I was the opposite.
I beat the shit out of my grandkid.
I'm like, Grandma, get your fucking gray-haired ass upstairs. Like, she's like, Jeff. I'm like, get upstairs. Mind you,
mannequin alone.
Grandmas want to know. Grandmas want to know what's going on. Like, but how does grandma? I mean, I'm sorry, but if I was no, I don't know. What would you do if, like, if your grandma, and you find that mannequin in the bed? Like, I don't know what I'm about to do. Like, I'm about to probably, I don't know. I don't think I'd throw it out.
Ignore it, and I
probably wouldn't have threw it out.
My glass of wine.
I don't know if I would have threw that. Would anybody else have threw that mannequin out if you were grandmama? Tell us in the chat if you would have threw the mannequin out, because I want to know what you guys would have did. If you would have pulled that up and seen the mannequin, would you have tossed it or maybe talked to him? I would have talked.
Okay, but I want to say this, though. I have to say this because out of that whole show, and this shows my sickness level, so I apologize. But out of that whole show, I was not scared of him, fearful of him, or even intimidated by him really until one scene when I went, oh, that's a little like, I got like little chill bumps. And that was the sandwich scene. Okay.
Oh, the sandwich. Okay.
The sandwich scene, because I
eat tuna.
Yes, I agree with Dawn. I would have threw them both out too. I've been like, look, you and your man, I would have let them go together. Like, pack your mannequin up and get the hell out of my house. I don't know what the hell's going on. But this shit ain't me.
Auntie, would you? That's my aunt.
You don't think your aunt would have?
No.
Okay, let me go. This
is my alibi.
Oh God, yeah. No, okay, listen, but that's not even the thing. No, guys, let me just tell you, my level of sickness is that it's not even the sandwich that made me creeped out. That's not it. It's that I actually saw him as this innocent, sort of lost, sort of broken is the word, broken soul through this whole show. And then when he went into that neighbor and gave that sandwich, and I'm not even going to say for those of you who haven't seen it, because if you're watching this right now, you should have seen it.
Yeah, get out of here. Run out of here.
He gets scary. Like, he is like, eat it. And he gets all like, and she's like, no. And he's like, eat it. And he gets really, really, eat the sandwich. I'm not leaving till you eat it. I want to see you fucking.
I would never eat something if someone's that persistent about me eating it. No. Like,
he is so, like, it's just an eerie moment where she's like, I'll eat it later. And he's like, eat it. And I'm like, oh my God. Like, it's so, like, if I was her, I would be freaking out because I would know. She's like, what's in it? He's like, oh, I don't know, some kind of pork, like,
Yeah, like, so rare. And it's like, dude, I've been smelling the pork from your house. I'm not eating anything that you have from your refrigerator because you keep saying shit's spoiled. So no, thank you. I don't want your nasty ass sandwich. You know what I mean? Like, get the hell on. I wouldn't even let him into my house.
What are you, a vegetarian? Exactly. It was like the weirdest.
Yes, I am. I'm a vegetarian.
He would not leave her apartment. And I was like, okay, like, I'm thinking if I'm like just thinking about myself, like, in her place, like, I would have been, you know, when you're acting calm, but you're really like eating your own stomach. Like, I would be like, oh my God, like, I know something's wrong. Like, that.
So what would have been your food that you would have ate if he would have showed up with? Everybody in the chat, what would have been a food that you would have ate no matter what?
Chocolate cake.
A celery stick.
A celery stick. That's lame.
I mean, listen, unless he had that bitch up somebody's up, like, never mind. I'm not even going to say it.
Well, yeah, he clearly would have. He's trying to feed you a human meat sandwich. So Aunt Dawn's the one that
tacos. Okay,
she's the one that made us the sandwiches.
Crystal said Jello. Look, Crystal, do you not know what can take a gelatinous form? Like, do you?
But you can kind of see what. But I don't think a human body could be in Jello.
Yes,
I mean tacos. I mean, I love a taco.
I can't turn down a taco.
I know, right? If it smells good, you come over like I got some tacos, and you're like, it is Tuesday. Do you pass it up? I mean, I think him coming over with that tired ass sandwich, messed him up. He should have took a little bit of time.
You've never gone over before. He's never went over before. He's not coming over. Yeah, I made you a sandwich. Like it's
might be wine.
Packaged.
I know, right? I mean, eat it. Wait, I want to ask what your take is on this. What is your take on the whole? I've reformed. I have found God. I'm a better person. I'm seeing doctors.
I think everybody in jail finds God. You know what I mean? I think that's their thing. I mean,
yes.
I think it's a jail thing.
Leave it at yes.
I think if he got out, Jesus would have left him and he would have been like back to having spoiled pork in his fridge. I mean, at the end of the day, he's damaged. I don't think he would have ever been reformed. I mean, my opinion. Do you change after you eat something? You get that taste and you're like, I like people.
No. I don't think he was
Kneecaps.
reformed. I do kind of think that like there are a lot of killers that go to prison and don't find God. They're like, nope, this is who I am.
Well, Gacy.
But exactly. But I kind of do feel like this is the one thing I'll say. And I've even read this. It's not just this show. I think he was really trying to explore why he was the way he was and find out. He knew he was wrong. He did know that. He was like, I know I am not right. So he was trying
levels of Dahmer.
He knew he would do it again. He even said,
but at the point, if you know you're that damaged, would you why go turn yourself in? Why keep doing it? You know what I mean? Are you just admitting it because now you're caught and you want to feel sympathy?
Probably.
You got to look at it from every aspect of that. You know what I mean? Well, if you're damaged and you don't like what you're doing, go turn yourself in. Say I'm messed up and go get some help. You know what I mean?
Well, let's take this back a notch. Let's not talk about murder, but let's take this back a notch and get really moral and think about the things that you both and even I think about the things that we do every day that we go, I wouldn't necessarily go announce this to somebody that I did it. Like I wouldn't really want to admit it.
What are you doing? I
go to work.
What are you up to?
This is a non-judgment zone. But
I can probably tell you everything I do in a day.
Absolutely. But if somebody like confronted me about it, I would say, absolutely, yeah, sure. But it's also not something I'm gonna just like out there and say, I don't know. We all have secrets, is what I'm saying. That's all. We all have secrets.
Interesting.
Like,
I'm trying to think. Like, I'm trying to think what I do in a day. I'm like, I'm gonna have to start writing this down. Would I tell people about this? Because you can follow me with a camera. I don't care.
Listen.
Right. Okay. I mean, that's true. I'm not gonna like. That's a secret. That's a secret.
Yeah.
So, but like, you're not harming somebody. You know what I mean? Like, I mean, we're all weird. I'm not gonna lie and say like, I mean, we love true crime and all that, but
clarify this. I'm not talking about harming someone, and I'm not talking about picking my nose, Crystal. I'm talking about just the things that maybe like
I like Crystal.
I don't know. Things that maybe I wouldn't just walk into like a room and go, "Hey guys, announcement." But if somebody asked me about it, sure,
right. Well, that's what I'm saying. Like, okay, so I think at some point it was like, for a lack of a better term, like a game to him when like the cops came around.
I feel that, and I feel like a lot of that is to these serial killers.
Well, if they're going to be dumb, I'm going to play along too. So when he got caught, he was like, okay, I'm caught.
Do you think he giggled when like he was like, okay, like it's pork, and then like he went away like it's not pork, like it's not, my fridge is just fine. You know what I mean? Like I feel like he might have did that. Like he was just like,
you think he did like a little jig? Like he got in his apartment and was just like
taps his fridge and he's like, good old fridge that runs just fine. Them idiots. like I mean, wouldn't you think like? I mean, his apartment. I mean, I'm a cluttered person. I'm not going to say I guess I wouldn't speak that into existence, but I am now. I'm a cluttered person. Like I have clothes all over the place, but like, I mean, his house was stank. You know what I mean? And he was, well, from the show, I wasn't there, you know what I mean? So I don't know. But I mean, if neighbors are smelling this stuff and they're calling like maintenance and stuff, and he's just like, oh yeah, where do you start laughing? Like, how do you live in? I mean, I guess like if you smell something enough, you get used to it. I guess that's probably what he did. Because like there's people that their houses are full of like sorry people that have cats, but sometimes your cats smell, and I'm just gonna put it out there. And you want, and
I have a dog, and I am like so self-conscious. Like I will be like, does my house smell like dog? That I
and you walk in their house, and it's like
because I drill them on that, and I'm like, oh my god. But I have
cigarette smokers, people that smoke cigarettes. Like, sorry, any smokers out there, but like a non-smoker will smell a cigarette smoker, and you're like, oh God, like help yourself. And like you don't smell it because you're used to it. So I guess maybe he got like that with dead flesh. I mean, that's crazy to me, but whatever. I mean,
maybe he just couldn't smell. Did anybody ask that question? I worked with a guy that couldn't smell.
I hope he couldn't. I really hope so.
No, she goes, anybody so good. And I was like, who does your laundry, Mike? And he's like, my mom. Because he was like 19, but I'm like, dude, you smell so good all the time. It was the same smell. And he's like, I can't smell.
He's cooking shit like this is fire. Like, God, like
I had COVID over a year ago. I don't have my smell anymore. It never.
I lost my smell for a minute, like a day, and the taste, but it came back. Thank God. But I know people are like,
now.
Yeah, I know people still can't smell and stuff. So don't become Dahmer on us and start being like, well, fuck it. That's the COVID thing. People can start eating people because it doesn't taste any different. Shit.
Texture.
Don't do that. Leave your neighbors alone. Don't do that. I know inflation and meat is expensive, but leave little Susie next door alone.
Buy some chickens like we did.
So wait a minute. So can I just bring up, because
we lost a few followers. Sorry, everybody, for my comments. I'm not really cooking Aunt Susie next door. I'm joking.
I read a whole list of the what's reality of the show versus what was kind of made up. Mm-hmm. So Glenda Cleveland, the neighbor that he fed the meat sandwich to, did not live in the Oxford apartments, and she actually never met Dahmer directly.
Oh, so they made all that up. So the meat sandwich was made up?
No, he did actually feed a meat sandwich to somebody, but it wasn't.
And they ate it?
No.
It was a neighbor.
You said they fed it, so I'm like, what?
She lived in the next apartment building.
She did. She lived in the building over.
So did she smell shit from her building?
And she never. So it said she did make multiple attempts to alert local police when she saw the 14-year-old Conorak outside. She was out of that.
The other gal. There's another gal.
Yes. Okay. Pamela Dahmer fed meat sandwiches to his neighbor, Pamela Bass. She is the woman who lived next door to Dahmer. She was fond of him and did not have many suspicions. She confirmed that he had fed her sandwiches.
Oh, God.
And then
did she say they were good? I kind of want to know if she liked them.
She expressed her fear that they probably contain human flesh. I have probably eaten somebody's body parts.
But did she die?
No.
I just had to throw that out there. Sorry, everybody. I got sick humor.
It might be
not the lesson here, Heather.
I don't learn lessons. I'm a true crime podcast host.
Okay.
What lessons do I learn?
He did not wear his glasses during the trial. However, he did often show victims the Exorcist 3 movie.
Why 3? Well, I guess the only third movie I liked was like Nightmare on Elm Street Part 3. I really liked that one. So I guess if I had to like show a third of something, it would be that movie. That was really good.
He did. Okay, here's another one.
We're gonna watch Freddy 3 and then you can leave. You know.
He did say to Tracy Edwards, I want to hear your heart because I'm going to eat it. He did say that.
That's bananas.
Because he escaped.
I've had people say some shit to me, but not that.
He told police. He said that Jeffrey Dahmer was pulled over by police when he had human remains in his car. 18-year-old Stephen Hicks.
So sad.
So he had garbage bags full of his remains literally in the back seat.
So that was true.
That was true. And he told the cops it was yard.
Yeah.
They let him go. Let's see. He was.
I mean, did we notice in this how? I mean, I love our law enforcement. If you're in our chat, I appreciate what you guys do. But the lazy cops, I do not. You know what I mean? Like if you do nothing, like the little boy that got away, like come on, man. You know what I mean? You dropped the ball. The fact that they got promoted, that shit pisses me off.
No, that was false. That's false.
Was it?
It says it here. It's false. Yeah.
Go to the next, please, because my heart can't handle it. Did they get fired?
It's false. It's false. But can I just say this? Wait, I just have to say this. I'm putting my phone down for a minute because I have to say this. Okay.
Go ahead. Put it down.
Okay. Nowadays, us in retrospect, like we are, in 2022, we know now bags of garbage bags in a guy in a car on a dark road in the middle of the night with a fucking weird whatever is bad news. I'm not even speaking full sentences here, but this is just bad news.
That's how bad it is.
Okay. But I feel like I'm not making excuses, but like in the 70s and 80s, this stuff didn't exist as much as we know now. So a cop seeing garbage bags in somebody's car, they haven't seen all the killers that we've seen to date. So they may have truly thought, like, I mean, is it weird? Sure.
Well, never going to think
that today.
Yeah, would you really think that though?
No, wait. Okay, but I want to say this. I got pulled over like 6 months ago driving to work at like 7:15 a.m. Like I got pulled over at 7 a.m, literally on my way to work, wearing my dental uniform with a coffee and everything. And I had a mop in my back seat with a box of garbage bags, not actual garbage bags, just a box of garbage bags, a mop, a broom, because I was moving and I had cleaning, like anything big that wouldn't fit in whatever I put in my back seat. That cop did not let me go for like 15 minutes. He literally was just staring in my back seat like this. And I'm like, yeah, I'm on my way to work. And he's like,
how did you not start this whole episode out like with that story?
Now I want to drive around with like duct tape and lime and a shovel and just see what happens.
Like literally, I was like,
am I going to get questioned?
You could see like the dental office was in my GPS. I had like my dental office t-shirt. And he was like, you've been doing some cleaning? I'm like, at 7 a.m.? No, sir. I'm moving and I have all my cleaning stuff. And he's literally just kept looking at my back seat, asking me about the cleaning stuff. I'm like, I'm a clean person. Like, what do you want from me? But
I would have said some dumbass shit and got myself in trouble. Like, I'm done out here.
No.
Lock up.
Would not let my ass go. So that is Kirsten's point, is that in those days, I feel like you could see garbage bags and be like, oh, he probably was just.
Yeah, there you go. Maybe he was looking to hire a maid. That was it. That was going on. He's like, well, shit, I got a dirty ass room. She got a mop.
Yeah,
let's work out a deal.
Clean my mannequin when I'm done.
Yeah, maybe he was the weirdo. I got this silver mannequin at the house. I need it sprayed down.
At my grandma's house.
My grandma's house. I call him George.
Okay, here, this is for you, Heather.
Uh-oh, what? What I do?
The officers, when they received the Officer of the Year commendation and the promotion, that never happened. It said both officers who were suspended after his arrest were reinstated, but they never were recognized as Officer of the Year or received any promotion. They were reinstated to their job.
Well, why?
Yeah.
They're not saving anybody. They're not even helping anything.
And the remarks they made, it was like, okay, if you were homosexual, they would like, nah, you know what I mean? Like, and that was a big thing on this thing.
Yeah. Well, okay, but let me play devil's advocate for a minute.
Go ahead.
Oh, okay.
I love that about you.
Okay. My only point in all of this, because I think they fucked up big time, was the only piece of evidence that I think, like, if I put myself in their shoes, I'm like, all right, was when he was like, why don't you come up to
whose kid is that?
My apartment? I don't know.
It's probably Destiny, the one that made the picture that you guys showed.
Well, whoever it is, hi, I'm saying hi too because I'm a mama.
Yeah,
say your name.
Who that is? I know.
Who's mama? Destiny, if it's you,
Destiny.
Okay, Destiny, we showed your picture. We love it. Amazing. You're gonna make all of our pictures now. Every single episode, you're gonna have to do some art. Sorry, but that's happening.
So the only piece that I saw that I was like, well, okay, was when he was like, come on up, I'll show you pictures. And he showed them pictures, even though he just took them like 20 minutes before. He showed them pictures, and the cops saw the pictures and went, okay, he lives here. And that's what they went off of, was saying, okay, he has pictures of him and this guy. He lives here, obviously. Or it's his boyfriend, because they have pictures together. That's the only piece.
I mean, I when it came to the movie and the way the movie threw it out, I seen it from the police side of a little bit, because I'm like, well, he did seem pretty convincing, and I can see where the police didn't want to bother with it. I mean, that really no, I'm just saying, it pissed me off through my whole life about the cops and everything, but like, they were kind of like, the guy looked really young, and the fact that people are saying like, check him out, just check his ID. The cops should have did something, but Dahmer was really like convincing to them, and like I said, the homo
stinks.
Well, you know what I mean?
All that shit there. Like,
I think that's what I'm saying. The homosexual part played in them, where their own insecurities ran on them, that they just wanted to get out of there. And they just looked at it from that side, and they didn't look at it from the whole perspective. They weren't being cops. And I don't think they were like doing, I just feel like she said, back in the day, the whole AIDS epidemic was out. It was all like this thing. They didn't want to be around like gay people because they thought this and that that's why they were like, well, we don't want to touch nothing. We don't want to touch nothing, because remember, that was, I mean, anybody in the early 90s remembers how huge that was. And when AIDS came out, everybody was so scared, and it was just this whole, it's a gay thing. And it made this, back in the 90s, everybody was so scared, and it's like, okay, it's not that, you know what I mean? And
the other
calm
thing
down, but that's how they made it.
Well, and I want to say this too. So this was something I thought a lot about. So, because I've been really, really drunk before, to the point that I've had like almost where I think I probably had like blood alcohol poisoning. But I did think about this because I read this. This was not in Monster. This was in the Jeffrey Dahmer tapes by the woman who, and in a lot of articles I read, and I'm not sticking up for them. I'm just saying, he even admitted this, that when he brought that guy back to his apartment, which, just picture this, because he's saying he's drunk, he's my boyfriend. So he has his arm around him, but he's walking with him. They walk back to the apartment. Now, in those times, like even in these times, screw it, even in these times, would your first, second, or 10th thought be, maybe he screwed into his brain and poured some acid in there and this guy can't think? Like, so he...
Well, now, yeah.
So...
we run a true crime podcast. First thing we're thinking.
So listen, so this was the thing. So when he brought him up to his apartment, in the movie, it kind of shows like he led him to the couch and kind of laid him down, but that's not really what happened. What actually happened was, when they got in the apartment, he was kind of standing there, Conrack, and Jeff said, why don't you just go, you're drunk. Why don't you just go sit on the couch, relax? I'll bring you a blanket. Like, well, and he did. He walked over to the couch with no distress. He walked over, he sat down. He just kind of sat down, got a pillow, laid down. He brought him a blanket. And when the cops saw this, they were kind of like, well, I don't see anybody in distress. So all I'm saying is, even in these days, my first thought wouldn't be, maybe he's fucking a Frankenstein. You know what I mean? Like, he kind of was like, the cop said he looked very comfortable there. Like, he looked like he wanted to be there. He wasn't trying to run away.
But the cops are going to write in the report whatever they're going to make them look good. You know what I mean? So they're going to say,
oh, yeah. No, I know.
So who knows if that really took place, because cops are going to put in the report, like,
it was very simple.
Simple ID check. That's it. Minor, you're out of here. Yeah. But my thing is, and I'm not victim shaming, I don't do that. But the fact, in the movie, this kid said that you already tried to do this to my brother. Why are you there?
That was my question. Why he?
Yeah.
Like, I mean, I guess like if my sibling did something, you want to kind of, but like on that aspect, I would have kind of stayed away. But I'm not victim shaming. You know what I mean? I don't do that.
Same thing. When he was on the couch and he was like,
yeah, I was shocked by that.
And he was like, you did this to my brother. You don't recognize me. I'm like, why is he there? Like, I don't understand him.
Like, he didn't come with a weapon or anything. It wasn't like he was trying to like get him back.
He wanted some money. Like he thought he wanted $50.
Yeah.
And that's, a lot of these people are like, okay, you're going to pay me some money. And, you know, a lot of people didn't have it. So they're kind of just thinking, well, I can make a quick 50 if I take some pictures. You know, my brother's back home. So obviously he didn't do nothing too bad. So maybe that's where the kid was coming from. You know,
didn't Dahmer do time for diddling his brother? Because he was
I don't know. I know
being a pedophile.
Yeah, I know he did do time for being a pedophile.
Yeah,
was it his brother?
Yeah.
Oh,
yeah.
Yeah, I didn't know if it was his brother.
Like, their family was like
that was when he went into jail, and his dad asked the judge to please give him like alcohol counseling or intervene.
Yeah, my son needs help. The dad
yes, my son needs help, and then he came out and he asked his son like,
how sad is this for the victims, though? Like, think about this. Like, you've lost your family member. You cannot have a proper burial because, you know what I mean? Like, seriously right now, like.
Yeah, there's no closure.
At the end of the day, Dahmer was sick. Dahmer, in my opinion, would have never rehabilitated. You just can't fix that.
No.
You know, him meeting his demise was karma. You know what I mean? Because, like, at the end of the day, he died the way he killed his first victim. You know what I mean? The way it played out. So, I mean, I remember when I was in high school and I heard Dahmer died, I was like, that's how it needed to be. You know, but now I'm more into this and I'm like, I wish we would have studied. You know what I mean? Because I want to know, can you see this? Can you see this on a brain if you can catch this ahead of time? You know what I mean? Like,
are you talking about Stephen Hicks, his first victim?
How did he die? Didn't he get hit with a barbell or whatever, like a weight? Oh, that's how they showed it in the movie. How'd he die?
I'm not even going to say because it's horrific.
So say.
First murder?
You're not going to say the first murder? This is what we are. We're a true crime podcast.
No. That's how Stephen Hicks died. That's not how Jeffrey Dahmer died.
Oh,
I thought he was.
I was like,
well,
what?
They said he was like hitting the head. Well, there's different stories that says like a broomstick and all this other stuff took place. Yes, I mean, like I said, I was there watching the news when this was going down. That they said he was sodomized and everything like this by a broomstick. But when they look at it, they said I've heard that was not true. So we'll have to look into that because I heard like it was blunt force trauma by the head.
Yeah. But
I mean, I'm sure the worst things in the worst are going to happen to Jeffrey Dahmer because if somebody's going to seek vengeance, they're going to want to, you know.
I mean, that bothers me no matter who it is. Like that really, that bothers me. Like that's always what I've heard, that's how he died was.
I heard that's false though.
And I really hope it is because I don't like that.
But they cover things up. Like I said, they're going to cover things up. So I think if that did happen, they're going to make that where it's false because at the end of the day, the fact that the guards, I mean, they knew they wanted him dead. You know what I mean? Like they let that happen. So it's like, everybody knows they let that happen. So you're not going to want it to let it be so in depth because that's their job.
Yes. Yeah.
Because that would have took a lot of time to even like pull something like that off to the torture amount that they have, that it would have left those guards looking way worse. Like you left this guy alone that long.
Right. You're probably right.
So if it did happen, it's going to be covered up big time.
Can I ask, I actually want to ask you guys a question. So, because I know there's thousands of people that do this, but do you think that the combination of sort of like the family problems and the mother and all that, the abandonment, do you think that his father with the taxidermy stuff actually contributed to his taxidermy is something that a lot of people do, but do you think that the taxidermy thing as a young child actually
triggered something?
Yeah.
I don't.
I don't.
It was just a fascination of.
I mean, people teach people how to fish and gut fish all the time. Take your kids fishing.
Hunting and all that.
It doesn't escalate to that level. I think isolation. I think separation anxiety. I think a lot of these mental problems took place with Dahmer. Definitely. Yeah. I mean, to this ability, he was just sick. There was no helping Dahmer.
His dad knew he was sick and tried to get him help. Like that's the suckiest part of all watching that, especially as a parent. It's like, holy crap, he did try. He may have been a dick, but he never turned his back. Like never.
But he should have talked to him and had told him I don't know, because he was saying he was fascinated about that kind of stuff too.
Well,
So
he had the same thoughts. He just never acted. He had the same thoughts as Jeff.
Yes.
So maybe he could have Dextered him. You know what I mean? Like, who knows what could have happened there?
Well, and the other thing is like, again, I hate to keep repeating like the times, but those were different times, like the 50s, 60s, 70s, even into the 80s.
Very true, Crystal.
Parents were different around their kids. Like there was there was harsh yelling. I'm not saying hitting, but I'm just saying like there was
hitting.
I'm like, oh my God,
I'm gonna beat my ass.
No, that's what I'm saying. Listen, I knew as a kid if I messed up, my dad would put me up against a wall. Did he ever abuse me? No, it was just a
discipline.
More of a discipline. It was like Tony Soprano says, I can take a fucking firm hand with my children, and you're telling me I can't. Especially in the 70s and 60s, like there was still that discipline. So
and kids were left alone a lot more. Like back in the day, it was like okay to just leave your kid by themselves. I mean, now we're like, oh my God, I can't leave my kid alone. You know what I mean? Like we don't do that nowadays. Like you don't just leave your kids alone. You know what I mean?
Definitely. I mean,
but back then it was no big deal.
You know, like when people say like it's a perfect storm, I think it might have been a perfect storm with him. I think it might have been like a little bit of everything, not too much of something, where with any other person, one of these isolated things might have been okay. But with him, it was every little tiny nuance of like a lot of different things.
For himself.
But do you think some people are just born disturbed and bad? Because like we've all gone. I mean, there's not one person in this world that hasn't gone through some type of struggle, some type of, bad parenting or something that we've all challenged in our life. We don't become serial killers. We don't eat people. We don't do this. We find different ways to deal with it. We might lay in our bed for days or, seek drugs, and people do things to cope, and it's awful. But like at the end of the day, they don't turn to cannibalism. You know what I mean? Like, are you just born bad? You know what I mean?
Some of them are just missing their moral compass. Like
I think you can be born bad. Like I think about these shows, and there's just one in particular. I don't remember the show. It's some true crime show or something, but it's about this girl, and she's in prison now, and she's probably in her 20s or 30s. She's this blonde girl, and I guarantee some people watching might even know what this is. And it's about she literally had like a normal, loving life, family, parents, a brother, everything. And she started dating this guy who her parents were like, you can't stay out late anymore and see this guy. So the guy was like, I think we should kill your whole family. And she said, okay. And it's called like, I am a killer. I was born a killer or something. And she's in prison now. Blonde hair. She's like 22. And when they talk to her, she's like, she literally will say with the deadest face, almost like watching Rob Zombie's Halloween with the kid. Mm-hmm. She'll say the right word. She'll go, no, I loved them. They never did anything wrong at all.
I know what one you're talking about.
They're like, do you regret killing them? And she's like, no, he suggested it and I thought it was a great idea. And nothing ever in her life to that point would have suggested that there was a single thing. That's what keeps me up at night is like stuff like
people
that.
With no conscience.
Well, but then you look at people like that, their parents, stuff happened, like Gypsy Rose. I'm totally down for what she did. I see, like, I have her back 150,000%. Like,
I know you did.
I mean, I would have done the same thing. Like, that shit was awful. That another day we'll talk about mother and we'll do that next year. We'll get into parents and their kids that off them, Menendez style. Off with the heads. But yeah, no, I do feel like Jeffrey Dahmer's dad was like, I mean, even if you watch the interviews, I mean, was he maybe trying to get fame? I mean, what do you guys think in the chat? Do you think when it came down to Dahmer getting caught, was he seeking the fame and book sales and everything? Or did you think he actually cared about him? You know what I mean? Because he really did go on the book sell heist there. You know what I mean? Until the family came in and said, no.
I think he was trying to.
I think it was what he said when he said, I'm just trying to, again, take the 70s and the 80s where he goes, I was just trying to help other parents to recognize the signs or see like what to look for. I believed him. I really did. And you know what? It's like reading everybody who knew him. said that he was such a wonderful, wonderful person. Like nobody. Like,
so why did he leave him for so many months without even contacting
I don't
him?
know. I mean, I really do think that
I'm conflicted on that.
Just a mix-up with he thought. So from what I read, it was the divorce thing. He thought the mom was there. The mom thought that he was there. The mom.
So you don't ever check on your kid?
But well, I don't know. It was a different time. I don't really
know. A crazy ex-wife like that.
No.
Sorry. And he was like 17. I mean, that's a bad thing to say.
I mean, it was harder back then because they didn't have cell phones. And so, I mean, you do have to look at time lapses because nowadays we can just call our kids and see how they're doing. But I think everybody contributed in his situation.
But the dad was the one person that never turned his back.
But at the end of the day, you got to take fault for how you behave. You know what I mean? Like you cannot just sit there and blame the world for you eating people. You know what I mean? Like there's you know what I mean? Like get a hobby, build model cars. I mean, I don't know what to tell you.
I thought of one point I wanted to say on that. Did you not find it interesting though? Because again, my whole impression of him before really studying him was he's this guy that eats everybody. He's a cannibal. He kills and he eats. And that's not the case. He did not. Did you not find it interesting that he did not eat anybody until
they took his little friend?
Until his boyfriend.
Yeah, don't take his mannequin, Grandma.
No.
And we will leave it on that. No, we got 5 minutes left. This is don't take your kids' mannequins, man. Like, leave him alone.
Until his boyfriend. He wanted to eat his boyfriend so he could be a part of it.
His grandmama messed him up. Him and that mannequin. I mean, haven't you seen those shows where it's like My Weird Addiction? And they're like, oh, I love these squeegee things. You know what I mean? Like, let them just, that's their weird shit. At least they ain't doing this weird shit. Like, whatever. You know what I mean? That's a messed up show. My Strange Addiction. That's what it is. Really?
Crystal goes, how romantic. Yes, he did not eat anybody until he loved his boyfriend. And then when he killed his boyfriend, he was like, I need to keep him in me, like a part of me.
So I have different expectations for new men in my life. Like, you better, if you leave me, I want to see, like, you getting extremely disturbed. Like the Jeffrey Dahmer.
I would just like to state that he did not eat anybody until his boyfriend. That's
damn grandma.
That's a big thing.
Be better, grandmas. If you're a grandma out there, be better.
Be better.
And we are wrapping up the show. We are gonna come back. I mean, what should we do next? Maybe clowns. Maybe we should do like all types of killer clown stories. We were talking about Gacy a lot. We can talk Gacy and all types of killer. We can dress as clowns, have clown cotton candy drinks.
I mean, whatever. I mean, this was.
Hey, I get to pick something. You picked Kevorkian, so.
No, you do. You do get to pick. You absolutely. If you want me to dress up in a clown,
I do.
Costume, I will.
Who wants to see clowns? Everybody's like, clowns are scary.
But are there actually?
It can't just be. There has to be. There's got to be somebody more than Gacy. We just got to research it.
But
there was that whole clown epidemic where, remember, like, what was it, 2016, where the clowns were standing in the corner?
Everywhere.
So much. Yes.
Yes, the creepy clown thing.
Freaks me out.
Yes, I agree.
Wow. Did you see that documentary where they were like filming clowns on the side of the road in the woods, just standing there?
My kid was like, I want to go and put a clown costume. I'm like, no.
We went to Hatchet Man Road. And we're driving, it's, I don't know, 1 o'clock in the morning. And there's no houses, no nothing. And we're like, what the fuck is that? And there was like 3 people dressed as clowns. I'm assuming young men coming out of the woods. I'm like,
nope.
He has to go. Do not turn around. We don't care. Do not put in reverse and try to run them over. We're just going to go.
No.
Next show is clowns. We will dress as clowns.
I think I might be sick that one. What day is that?
No.
No, you are not sick. Listen,
I do. Yeah, we're all in this together, Gigi. Yeah. You're a part of this now. You have to go down these rabbit holes with us, and that's just it. But I do want to do a show like where it shows like, and I've been wanting to do this, Kirsten. You know, forever. We're best friends, best friend murderers. I want to do that.
Oh yes.
Yeah. So maybe we'll do that.
Paying attention. Best friend murder.
Let's do that next, and we'll dress like little, like pajama party. You guys want to have a pajama? Let's have a pajama party next time. You guys want to do that?
Party, yes.
Yes.
Pajama party.
Yes. Pajama party.
Okay, that's it.
Are we doing pajama party best friends or pajama party clowns?
No,
we'll do clowns next year. We'll do clowns. Let's do pajama party next time. Best friend murders. So get investigating, everybody. Stay tuned. We'll release the date of our next show because a lot of work goes in these shows. We tell you guys, we do a lot of research. We do a lot of stuff like to get these shows prepared. I know it looks like we're just dicking off, but we're not. We actually put a lot of work. I mean, Kirsten, you see all the research she puts into this. Me and Gigi just kind of drink, but we actually prepare the shows. She's advertising, but go ahead and look at all the Chillin' and Killin' merchandise that Gigi has put out there, you guys. Go enjoy all of that. And and we will be back for our pajama party. So we want you guys to get your pajamas on and see us next month. And we will go ahead and talk about best friend murders.
Hey guys, if you have a best friend that you know that murdered somebody, please let us know.
Contact
we'll
us.
talk about it.
You can be on our show. You can be on our show.
You can be on our show.
All right, everybody. Good night and stay chillin' and killing. Good night.
Bye.
Bye.